What's up, guys? Lucas here, and today I'm going to be talking about the Charlotte Hornets 2020-2021 NBA offseason. So looking at their 2019-20 season recap, they were surprisingly not awful. They were, my prediction is, like one of the worst teams in the league. They didn't seem to have any talent on their roster when the season started, but Devontae Graham was very good for them. He probably should have won Most Improved Player, but yeah, he was really good. He averaged 17 and 7, I think, and shot really well from three, like 37% on like 8 attempts a game. Terry Rozier wasn't awful for them. PJ Washington was a good pick, and Miles Bridges developed a little more. So there's a lot to like on this team. They're not a great team by any means. They don't have any stars, but they have a lot of young talent, and they added more talent this offseason. First, by trade, they acquired Gordon Hayward. I guess it was not really a trade, it was more free agent signing. It was technically a trade because they gave up a trade exemption to the Celtics, so it was technically a sign and trade, but it was really just a free agency signing. They overpaid for him heavily, 120 for 4 years for a guy who hasn't made an All-Star game and hasn't looked like himself for 3 seasons now. And they also had to waive Nicholas Batum, which we'll talk about later, to do this. So yeah, it's kind of an overpay, but to get a guy like Gordon Hayward to Charlotte, you had to overpay him. And not to mention, he's one of the few players in this offseason that is a wing who can shoot, pass, dribble, and play good defense. So he was definitely the best wing in this offseason, and they signed him. So he's a good player, probably a little bit of overpay, but still going to help them win their draft picks. They drafted LaMelo Ball 3rd overall. And so far in the preseason, he looks like exactly what we thought he'd be. Great passer, not a great scorer. He had a really bad first game and has been better the last 2 games, scored 18 points in his most recent game. And he was pretty efficient, but passing, he's already seems to be one of the best passers in the league. So he's super flashy, really good at reading defenses, and also really good handle for his size. He's 6'7" and dribbles like Trae Young. He's just really fluid for his size. And yeah, if he could be good defensively and learn how to shoot more, I think he actually has a really bright future in the NBA. Leaving them in free agency, they have Nicholas Batum. He was waived and he signed with the Clippers. This was a big deal because Nicholas Batum was one of the worst contracts signed. He was on like a 4-year max with them, making $20 million a year. And this was finally the year he was going to come off the books for them. But instead of doing that, they couldn't keep him while signing Gordon Hayward, so they had to waive him and spread his money out over 3 years. So for the next 3 seasons, the Hornets are going to be paying $9 million in dead cap space to Nicholas Batum. So that's not great. Like, just having $9 million that you just don't have as a basketball team is never a good thing, but I get it. Like, you want to add the talent of Gordon Hayward. It's just scary because you're just kind of furthering the bad contract that you already signed and signing another bad contract on top of that. So they really are being reckless with their money, but seeing that you're a franchise like the Charlotte Hornets, who haven't had a lot of winning and free agents don't really like to go there, I get the signing, and I get waiving Nicholas Batum. It's something you have to do. So yeah, looking at their roster, they have Cody Zeller, who is a basic center. I thought he'd be traded by now. He spent his whole career on Charlotte. He's just like a decent center. He rebounds, scores around the rim, doesn't do anything extra besides like basic center things. Bismack Biyombo, kind of similar. He's more athletic, but once again, just rebounding, scoring around the rim. Neither of them really have any sort of face-up game or shooting, and they aren't super switchable on defense. They're just average centers. Miles Bridges, he showed a lot of signs last year. His rookie year didn't go too well, and he still hasn't been a great shooter for them, but he's really athletic off the dribble, really good finisher. Yeah, if his shooting could get better and his defense could get better, I think he'll be really useful for them because as a secondary scorer, like, he actually is really good at getting to the basket. And he has, like I said, super athletic. So with him, it's just kind of developing the 3-point shot and defense. Terry Rozier, who's also on an overpay contract. He's making about $20 million a year, and it is an overpay, but it's a slight overpay. Terry Rozier was actually pretty good for them last year. He had a bunch of big games for them, and him with Devontae Graham formed a pretty good backcourt. They were the leading scorers on this team, and as long as he can just shoot efficiently and pass the ball okay, like, he's never going to be a great point guard. He's always going to be like the 10th best point guard in the league or something like that, but as long as he could keep doing what he's doing. The contract isn't terrible, and it gets less every year. Like, I think he's only getting paid it was like $20 million in 1917. So he's not a terrible guy to have on your roster. He's just a good point guard. PJ Washington was their first round pick last season, and he was really good for them. He shot 37% from three, and he's 6'9" or 6'10", so he's a good stretch four for them. Didn't shoot great from the field or from free throw, but the 3-point was there, and he showed signs of being a really good off-ball scorer. And on ball, he needs to work a little bit more, but just catch and shoot, he's been really good, and he's really athletic too. It's mostly defense that he needs to improve on in on-ball scoring, but it doesn't really matter if you have LaMelo, so he's going to be a good piece for them. And then Devontae Graham also. He should have been the most improved player last year. He's really bad at finishing. That's one thing. He only shoots like 38% from the field, but he shoots 37% from three and like 80% from the free throw line, or even better. So he's a really good shooter, just not great at finishing at all. He has a little bit of a floater game. Passing, he's pretty good. I wouldn't say he's elite, but he can find open men. He could read defenses at a basic level. He averaged like 7 assists a game, and that was mostly because he had the ball in his hand most of the time. So he's not going to like be a miss open players, but he's definitely not like a LaMelo type player. So yeah, I think he will fit next to LaMelo pretty well. Looking at this team overall, do I think they're going to make the playoffs? No way. I just think the East is actually pretty good this year, and this team is still very young, and only a few veterans like Gordon Hayward and, I mean, Terry Rozier, if you consider that a veteran, as impact guys. They are mostly a young team who hasn't done much, but I think they'll be really fun. I think Devontae Graham could be a really good shooter next to LaMelo. I think PJ Washington could be really good next to LaMelo. I just think this will be a fun team to watch, but I don't see them making the playoffs. So yeah, that's what I think of the Charlotte Hornets. Let me know what you guys think, and subscribe and like below. I'll see you next time. Bye.